Happy Sunday. You're watching Golden State Warriors today. Coming up on today's show are the Dubs looking to trade Jonathan Kuminga. We'll get to the latest on Draymond Green entering NBA free agency, and is he going to return to the Dubs? And Steve Kerr comments on the Jordan Poole, Chris Paul trade and why the Warriors made that move the other day. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the show. NBA free agency does begin on Friday. We will talk about every move that the Dubs make, so be sure to hit that subscribe button here on the channel. And if you're subscribing for the first time today, I want you to type me down in the comment section. We'll show you some love down there as well. Just want to know who the new subscribers here on the program. If you're new to us here on Warriors Today by Chat Sports, I'm Chase Sr. We give you year-round coverage on the Golden State Warriors. Let's begin here with the latest around Jonathan Kuminga. There's been a lot of trade buzz surrounding him ever since the end of the regular season. Him and his agent kind of started it in saying right after the Warriors got ousted by the Los Angeles Lakers in the second round of the playoffs that if he doesn't have a larger role this upcoming season, heading into year 3, that they want to get moved to a destination in which he can get more playing time. Jake Fischer, Yahoo Sports, with a couple of interesting tidbits here. Moving Jordan Poole, he said, also highlights a noted shift in Golden State's team-building approach, which began with dealing former number 2 pick James Wiseman during the NBA trade deadline. The Warriors' fabled 2-timeline strategy is in the rearview mirror now. Golden State also held serious conversations with the Indiana Pacers about trading Jonathan Kuminga, the number 7 pick in the 2021 NBA draft, for a package centered around the number 7 pick in this year's NBA draft. So basically the former 7th pick for the 7th pick this year. He continued by saying perhaps the Warriors could still move the 20-year-old forward this offseason. The Warriors did not seem to be widely shopping Jordan Poole's contract, but they were clearly open to moving him. San Antonio registered interest in Poole, league sources told Yahoo Sports. Although the Spurs never made a significant offer, there were also conversations between Golden State and Boston about sending Poole to the Celtics before Boston went forward and traded Marcus Smart in a 3-team trade with the Grizzlies that brought Kristaps Porziņģis to Boston. So a couple of interesting things there that I certainly want to relate to the audience. And what all of this tells me, and by the way, Jake Fischer did report the other day prior to Jordan Poole getting traded to the Wizards that teams had been calling about Poole, and the Warriors were thinking about facilitating a deal. That ended up ringing true. So what this all tells me about Jonathan Kuminga, the Warriors clearly seem to be open to moving Jonathan Kuminga if there's a deal that they like. The issue with trading Kuminga, though, is that it became clear and apparent against the Los Angeles Lakers in the second round of the Western Conference playoffs that the Warriors need more size, more strength, and more athleticism. They were bereft of that, and they got exposed because of the deficiencies in those departments against the Lakers. And as we propel forward, and you look at the landscape of the Western Conference, a lot of teams are more athletic, have more length, and have more size than the Golden State Warriors. And Jonathan Kuminga gives you that if you just give him more rotation minutes. So I do think it's up to Steve Kerr to try to maybe be willing to live with some of the mistakes that Kuminga might make as a young player who's only 20 years old, but understand the upside that he has, which we've seen flashes of at multiple instances throughout the first 2 years of his career. A guy who can defend at a high level and guard multiple positions. A guy whose shooting stroke has been a little bit better than anticipated coming out of the draft. He can play make a little bit, and in this offense, as a roller to the hoop, he has great athleticism to dunk it down, and that athleticism helps him on both ends of the floor. So he can really help you in those areas that you need size, strength, speed, athleticism, and that's why the Warriors might not trade him. But if they get blown away by an offer, Kuminga could get dealt, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. Do want to ask you this question. We talk about some of the things that the Warriors lacked in the offseason, or lacked this past year, as we're now in the offseason. I want you to let me know down in the comment section right now. The biggest need for the Warriors this offseason. Let me know. Let's shift gears to Draymond Green here. and get to the latest on him. Is Draymond Green going to demand and get $100 million on his new contract from Golden State or another team? Zach Lowe, ESPN, with this on the Low Post podcast. On Draymond, he said, I do think the money has got to be close to go back to Golden State, meaning what the Warriors offer him and what another team might offer him. He opted out of his player option, so he is an unrestricted free agent, free to sign with any team across the NBA. More from Lowe. I don't get the sense that he's going to take a massive discount out of loyalty to the Warriors. But when you do what the Warriors just did, and you have Steph Curry, who loves Draymond Green, who's going to have a say in whatever the hell happens with this team, I just find it hard to believe that Draymond's going to go anywhere. Nothing would surprise me, like the Kings maybe. I just mentioned the Pacers. I mentioned Memphis as a sign-in trade. There's going to be options for him. Another team like the Los Angeles Lakers could make sense for Draymond. The Dallas Mavericks as well. Teams that are right at that point of maybe turning the corner to compete or win an NBA championship. Now, when a guy like Anthony Slater of The Athletic, who probably is more tapped into the Warriors than any other beat reporter out there, said the other day that he would be, quote, shocked if Draymond leaves, then I would be shocked as well if Draymond does leave. And Adrian Wojnarowski, after Draymond opted out of that player option, did say, quote, the Warriors and Draymond very much want to get a deal done. Let's talk about Draymond Green's value here. And even at this point of his career, as he's shown signs of aging, he's still worth $100 million, especially if Steph Curry thinks so, who will have a say in what the Warriors do this offseason, with him being 35 years old and that championship window starting to close. The Warriors would not have become a dynasty without Draymond Green. Let's be real here. He's been one of the best defensive players of this generation who, in high leverage moments, can guard 1 through 5. The offense at times runs through him at the high post with the dribble handoffs, the screens, the pick and pops, the pick and rolls, and his ability to find backdoor cutters because he's a great passer for a big. The swagger and the confidence, as well as the dog mentality that Draymond's brought to the Warriors culture, has been integral to them winning 4 championships in 9 seasons. Holding everybody accountable and striking fear into the opponent is something that matters. And lastly, leadership. Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are a little bit passive, right? As far as them being leaders. Now, on the court, Steph Curry is an assassin. But Draymond Green isn't afraid to call people out, and he brings you that gusto and that swagger that Steph and Klay sometimes do not bring. And that leadership is really important for a team that year in, year out has championship aspirations. So if Draymond demands $100 million and the Warriors aren't willing to give him that, there will be another team in free agency that does pay him what he is seeking on the open market. Let's round out with Steve Kerr talking about this Jordan Poole, Chris Paul trade. And I think this is pretty interesting because it gives you a vision as to what the Warriors brass might be thinking and how this team might be a little bit different in 2023, 2024 than it was this past year and in years prior. Steve Kerr, quote, we're going to be a lot different. The last thing I'm going to do is say anything about a team that just won a championship a year ago and then fought through a difficult season. We made a hell of a run at the end of this year. I've loved this group that we've had the last couple of years. But the biggest point is that we sensed we needed a shift. Didn't mean we needed an overhaul, but we needed a shift of some sort. I think everybody in the organization sensed that, and it feels like we've made a pretty significant shift without giving up our identity and our sense of who we are as a team. I think all in all, it's a very positive shift. There are certainly a lot of things that you can take away from that. Did the punch between Draymond and Jordan Poole and that scuffle, that fight, alter and affect the Warriors culture a little bit? Because Draymond has looked at this respected guy who had that looming player option, who didn't have long-term stability, and then Jordan Poole is the young guy who's causing problems and is maybe a little bit immature, but got that contract worth more than $100 million. Did the Warriors feel as though some of the young players on this roster who needed to step into larger roles were becoming a little bit complacent? Was Jordan Poole and Jonathan Kuminga complaining about their roles in the playoffs a problem for this team because they weren't focused on the task at hand of trying to win a second consecutive NBA championship. And Chris Paul can help the Warriors become a more veteran-laden group that's a little bit more mature, and he helps you in the guts of a playoff series maybe a little bit more than Poole did this past year. Like, there are a lot of reasons and a lot of ways that you can take that comment from Steve Kerr. With Chris Paul on the floor, I know this. The pace is going to slow down. He's going to be a floor general. I see why the Warriors did it. He's going to take less ill-advised shots and turn the ball over less than Jordan Poole. But with Poole going, you lose athleticism. You lose that scoring burst. You lose a guy who can play make, not really for others, but for himself and score at all three levels. And a guy who, coming in off the bench, can give you almost 20 points any given night. For Poole to win, I think he gets to go somewhere where he can be the man, where he kind of walks around like he is the man. That's what makes him good in moments, bad in others, because he doesn't really have a filter with his jump shot selectivity. And he's going to be able to take 20 to 25 shots per night. So for Jordan Poole, it's a win. For the Warriors, we'll see. They get older, less athletic, but there's still some moves they can make in free agency. And going back to the points I made earlier, if they're looking for more athleticism, do you play Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody more? And do they give that to you? And then you use some of the draft picks to have that athleticism edge as well. Very, very interesting week ahead for Golden State with NBA free agency beginning on Friday. Make sure you subscribe to the show. Any move and all moves that the Warriors make, even when they lose players, we'll talk about it here on the program. Hope you all enjoy your Sundays as you wrap up your weekends. Have a great start to your week. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll catch you next time here on Warriors Today.